Welcome to our fourth class, GTD or Getting Things Done. This is part of our productivity course. Hi, my name is Juan Yelena. I'm a marketing consultant and an engagement and motivational speaker. Welcome back. Alrighty, so we're talking about productivity, so let's get started. In Getting Things Done is a theory created by David Allen, which provides concepts and different examples written for people like us to follow step by step. So it's a process or a technique that is being broken down simply for us, like in a flow chart, to allow us to get things done, okay, to get us organized in a common sense, providing ways to become more effective and more efficient. So in another ways, becoming more productive. So what is this GTD methodology? What is this getting things done? Well, simply put, it's a way to get organized. So as entrepreneurs or employees, we get bombarded with lots of tasks and things to do. That is pretty common, right? There's so many things, so many urgencies, so many important things, so many of the other things neither important or urgent. So GTD helps us understand how we're planning our day and how we can prioritize or filter activities that, again, we identify as urgent or important to be, and which ones are the key to get things done. So we have to allow ourselves to remain laser focused. So from this moment on, I want you to think of getting laser focused, okay? Decide what your objectives are. And when you sit down in front of that computer at the beginning of your day, you have to have a clear objective of what your day is going to look like, okay? But we'll help you and get more ideas to identify activities or tasks that will get you more productive and more effective and more efficient. So remember, you have to allow yourself to remain laser focused. There's going to be a lot of distractions. So despite distractions, such as distractions when we're at work, distractions such as our relationships, distractions such as leisure activities, which are also necessary, those are going to be always present. But the more we get organized, the more we'll be able to GTD, to get things done. The key here is always to find that balance in your life. Trying to be present and being in the moment and find that balance. Because the moment you lose that balance, then something is going to suffer. Whether it's your business life, your personal life, your health, your own personal health or mental health, your relationships, your finances, somewhere along the way, if you don't keep things in balance, then that's going to cost you. So there's a workflow, a flow chart that GTD helps us identify how to make decisions. So every day we have many things to do. The first question we have to think is when something comes in and we identify what it is, we have to decide if it's actionable. That means that if we are able to get that done or if it has some kind of practical value. If it adds value to the things that we are intending to do with that main goal, that main objective that we define. So you got to ask, is it actionable? And if it is, then that means that it can be done or that it has a practical value and that it's possible to do. So if it's not, what it will happen is that if it's not actionable, well, three things could happen. One is that it will go into the trash. We'll have to discard it. That means that we need to learn to say no. We have to think of the opportunity cost. For example, when you choose to do one thing, you renounce to do another thing. And that's the cost of opportunity. If it's not actionable now, and if it doesn't add any practical value to things right now, and we don't want to discard it, we don't want to trash it, then we can save it for later. And that goes into the someday maybe category. So sometimes you have an idea about a product or about starting something new or some sort of an idea to apply in your marketing campaign, but it's not actionable. Well, it may be a good idea to just trash it, but in some cases, it's a good idea to just put it in a place where you write it down. So let's say you send an email to yourself and then you file it in a folder that is for later, maybe for someday, where you can go back in a month, where you can go back in 3 months. And then you look at it and maybe times have changed. Maybe the circumstances are different. And maybe it's the time to turn it into something actionable. Okay, so you don't just throw it away, you save it for later, but you have to decide that. The third alternative, it will be to incubate or file, keep that reference for some future interest or for some future reference. So for example, if it's an idea for the next season, or maybe you just had an idea because the holiday season just ended, you have a great idea that you could have used for this one, but you can't do it, well then you save it for next time. You file it, and you use it as a reference for when you're planning for the next holiday season. If the market changes and you have some ideas for that, well, maybe you can save them as a reference as well. Or maybe even some cool ideas as well. Maybe some things that you don't see them happening down the future in 3 months or in 6 months or in a year. Maybe you want to save it for later. Well, maybe you won't get back to it until in a few years later. Instead, if it was actionable, then the next question is, will it take 2 minutes or will it take less than 2 minutes? Now let's talk about this 2-minute concept. 2-minute concept for me It's just a reference, something that I can do, meaning that it doesn't take a whole lot of resources, that I don't have to learn something new. It means that it's something that I can fairly quickly turn it around and get it done. Okay? So 2 minutes for me is just a way to say it. So if you ask yourself, will it take less than 2 minutes? And you say yes, the GTD methodology suggests you to just go ahead and do it. If you ask yourself this question, will it take less than 2 minutes? And the answer is no on the other hand, then the GTD methodology suggests you to delegate that or to defer it for later. So if it says yes, you get it done and you move on and you look into the next task. If you can delegate that, and because you decided that you weren't able to do it in 2 minutes, but it's an actionable task and that adds value to your goals and what you're trying to do, but it won't take less than 2 minutes, then ask yourself, can I delegate this? If you can delegate that, then just go ahead and delegate things that need to be done, but don't delegate responsibilities. You delegate things that people can be better at. You need to learn to delegate and train people to get those things done to your standards or to the set of standards that the company needs or the organization needs. When you're doing a delegation training, you need to be aware of the generational differences, because what is important for one generation is not necessarily important for another one. So you need to be real careful with that and maybe stay a little closer. But on the other hand, you don't want to micromanage. You don't want to start just delegating to end up doing it all yourself because you don't feel like anybody else can be as good as you are. So there's a cost and an opportunity that are associated with delegating, because if you can delegate to someone else, then that means that it opens up an opportunity for you to continue doing the things that continue adding value to your life and adding value to your business. It is important to mention at this point that collaboration and communication are key. If you can delegate, well, then you do. But if you don't, maybe if you can defer it, you can postpone it, or you can put it off for a later time until you can delegate it later. Or maybe a situation will change and that you might be in a different situation where it might take you only a couple of minutes to get it done. So what's the next action? So we'll start by saying we need to start planning. As far as the applications and the technology that is available to do this, there are many. But the important part here, and that mental note you have to create and what you need to get used to, is identifying tasks and organizing them and classifying them into urgent tasks versus important tasks. And if you need to know more about that, I will refer you back to the class number 1 on this productivity course. Again, if you define what is the next project that you could do it in less than 2 minutes, right? We talk about that concept too. And then you are about to work on it, then you need to identify that project and break it down in smaller projects. And you start your project planning with new actions to complete each one of them until you complete the full project. So then you go in a loop and you complete each one of those projects until you complete the entire project. How can you accomplish this? Well, time blocking is a real good tool to use, which we have discussed as well. And the same as finding if a task is important or urgent. Again, you have to decide what goes first. Okay, so you have defined that you're going to continue and doing that project. You have identified what the next action will be. Well, then just create your routine checklist. And that helps you a lot because that allows you to remain laser focused. You need to have space in your mind to clear your mind and focus on the things that are important. But those little reminders, those things that you can't forget to do on a regular basis in every week, every day of the week, but that are not that important because they're important, but they're just repetitive. You just need to do it. You don't have to remember to do those. You can just program those on your Google Calendar and it will set you the reminders for like every week. It will save you a lot of time, a lot of stress, and it will help you recognize what to do for each type of task that comes your way. So again, the goal is to remain laser focused. Before we finalize, we need to talk a little bit about common sense, because common sense, it means that you have to use what is common sense that not everybody unfortunately has, but you have to use a common sense approach. Would it take 2 minutes or less? You have to use your common sense. Is that something I can delegate? But you need some common sense for that as well. Is it a task that is important or urgent? Well, the same situation, it can be seen from 2 different angles. So you need to use your common sense and be able to see things from a bigger picture. So you can identify what that is and sort your own priorities. And if you can do that, you're already halfway through the battle. You're winning the battle. And that will allow you to create a strategy of your day by day that you can follow through and be successful at being more productive. So remember, you gotta start your day with a plan. That completes our 4th class, GTD, or Getting Things Done, for today. Again, if you haven't done so, we invite you to subscribe to our newsletter And you can do that by going to our website at jlbmedia.com. I want to invite you to also to connect with us at our social media channels and to be part of our tribe, our tribu, where we can share resources, where we can bounce some ideas, share our experiences, our success, and also our failures. See you in the next class.